That Metal Interview.
On this installment, on this episode of That Metal Interview with myself, James, we have a special guest. This guy, his name is Ray Suhy, Suhy. Excuse me if I maybe you might have mispronounced it. Ray Suhy. He is one of the guitar players for 6 Feet Under, the classic death metal band led by Mr. Chris Barnes, formerly of Cannibal Corpse. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking of 6 Feet Under. This is Chris Barnes' band, and our guest is one of his guitar players for his band, 6 Feet Under, Ray Suhy. And not only does Ray play in this death metal band, 6 Feet Under, he is very versatile, and he plays jazz also. Yep, he plays real jazz, not fake jazz, real music, real jazz. So, not to say that metal is not real music, this is just a comment. So Ray plays, he has an album out called Transcendent, Ray Suhy and Lewis Porter Quartet. So check it out. The album is called Transcendent, Transcendent. If you guys want to expand your mind a little bit, check it out. This is some awesome jazz, and it's just unbelievable, man, how any musician can go from playing these complicated leads with strange progressions and improvisations and this and that to playing some heavy death metal with 6 Feet Under, man. Talk about multi-talented. Mr. Ray Suhy, that's what we're talking about. And he'll talk to us about this change from jazz to death metal and this and that. And he'll speak to us about joining 6 Feet Under, on how he texted with Chris Barnes and he made the band. He'll talk to us about playing alongside the legendary Jack Owen, originally with Cannibal Corpse, and then later on joining D-Side back in the 2000s, maybe 17 years ago, 16 years ago. Mr. Jack Owen, very nice person. I spoke to him in person in San Antonio, Texas, around 2006, when he was touring and recording with D-Side, one of my favorite bands, D-Side, Mr. Glenn Benton. Anyways, so let's check out the interview with Ray Suhy of 6 Feet Under. Enjoy. First of all, thanks congrats on the new 6 Feet Under album, Nightmares of the Decomposed, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Great stuff, man. Awesome. I'm a big metal fan, rock fan, death metal, the whole spectrum. That's awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
Take us through the writing process. Who wrote the riffs, lyrics, and arrangements? Who did all that?
Yeah, so, when Jack Owen joined the band, what was that, 2017, I think, when he came in, he was, writing a bunch of stuff, and he sent Chris a bunch of demos, of a bunch of riffs and songs, and that's how the process all started, So, yeah, so Jack wrote all the riffs on this one, and, then Chris took those demos, started writing vocals to them, and then I added the leads and stuff in, later on. So, yeah, so basically, Jack had the riffs, did demos, Marco laid down some drums, Jeff laid the bass down, I played the solos. Jack plays a couple solos on the record too, and then Chris went and recorded all the vocals after that. So when, we're all spread apart across the country, so this is all done over email and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So you joined in 15, right? Is that right?
I think so. The end of 15, early 2016, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you record another album, or is there a second one?
No, I did some solos on Crypt of the Devil, and then I did all the guitars and bass on Graveyard Classics 4. That's all me on that.
Awesome. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did you feel? I mean, I'm a fan of Chris Barnes and 6 Feet Under and Cannibal Corpse and this and that.
Yeah.
D-Side. How did it feel working with a legend like that, man? I mean, Chris Barnes
it's awesome.
and Jack Owen now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think I first got on Chris's radar because Phil Hall from Municipal Waste, he produced Crypt of the Devil and he produced the Graveyard Classics 4 record. So those are the first times I played on 6 Feet Under records. I wasn't in the band then. I was just doing a session kind of thing. And so Chris heard my playing on that, and then we started talking on Twitter. Talking about like how might be cool if I could tour with them sometime. And at that point, when the other guitar player left, when Steve Swanson left, Chris wrote me on Twitter and asked me to join. I was so stoked. I mean, he's a legend. I remember buying the Cannibal Corpse tapes and jamming the heck out of them when they came out. So for me, it's been an awesome ride. And then Jack, Jack joined the band about a year after I did, and it's just been incredible, man. You look over those two guys, and we're playing like Hammer Smash Bass, and it's just like, holy shit, these are the dudes that created that sound and that whole scene, so it's definitely a trip. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I met Jack Owen once in San Antonio. I want to say he was playing with D-Side. This is about 06 or so, 2006. So anyway, real nice guy. But I've never,
great guy.
I never had the honor like you did, jam with, play with him. Wow.
Jack's a great guy, man. Great musician too.
Some people don't know this, man. Some people don't know. Not just anyone can go from playing jazz to playing death metal. That's a unique talent you have there.
Thanks, man.
How do you do that, man? How do you?
Man, I love a ton of different kinds of music. I always have. So I've been practicing jazz and metal since I was a kid. So I started playing guitar and got really into metal, and then I got into jazz quite a bit, and it's just been nonstop doing both of those things for years. So the basics of music is a it's a language. And once you learn you really get the fundamentals of it down, you can really explore any style you'd like to. It's just a matter of spending time with each thing. So I really love it because I get to kind of express a couple different sides of me. So it's been pretty cool. So I released a jazz record this past year called Transcendent, and that was on Sunnyside Records. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that one. And we were going to do a bunch of playing and everything, but it's a pandemic hit this year that kind of went by the wayside. So, but I love doing both things.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. I heard the album Transcendent. Awesome stuff, man. Awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you.
I play guitar myself. I'm not not as good as you, of course. I'm mediocre.
Oh, man.
I'm just mediocre. I saw your videos, man. Damn, you just you're up there, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Talk to us about Transcendent. A great album. It's not metal, of course. This is jazz. I would say jazz, right? Who's involved with that? Who recorded that?
I had a good friend of mine, Lewis Porter, is a pianist and a writer and a jazz educator, and he and I had done one other record before this, but we decided to do another one, and then we got Rudy Royston on drums. He plays with a bunch of great jazz people, and he plays with like Bill Frisell and all that, and on bass we had Brad Jones. He's a fantastic musician. He's played with Ornette Coleman and a bunch of great people. So it was a really killer lineup. And the jazz thing is very interesting because I wrote about the 3/4 of the songs, and then Lewis, the pianist, wrote the rest. And then we didn't have a rehearsal. We just booked studio time and got the other two guys in the room and pulled the songs up and talked about them, and then just went. I think we recorded that whole record in 6 hours or so. So jazz is totally different. Yeah, that's a totally different beast than the metal. Because like with jazz, it's about the performance and improvising and trying to get a good feel and a good take. And the metal thing, it's all more piece by piece and everything. So, yeah.
So, as a musician, a musician question: do you build a progression and then improvise, or is it just mainly all improvising?
No, and the jazz stuff is usually based off of progressions, or I'll write a melody and then add a progression to that. So with a lot of those songs on the record, I'll write the melody to the song with the chord progression, and then we solo over the chord progression. Sort of how like a blues musician would play. You know what I mean? So you'd play through your blues song, and then you'd improvise on the 12-bar blues. When you're doing your solos, it's the same thing in jazz, but the chords will just be different. So,
what age did you start playing guitar, man? Was it kind of young, or?
Yeah, it was when I was 12, actually. Yes, I actually started on bass for a year when I was 11, and then I got a guitar when I was 12.
So you just told us first came metal and then came jazz, right?
Yeah, well, it's I started playing guitar in was like '87, so it's like right around the hair metal, all the great hair metal stuff. So,
yeah.
and then the thrash metal too. So it was like playing like Dokken and all that stuff, and then got into Anthrax was huge for me when I was a kid, and then then I got really deep into Metallica. But at the same time, I was listening to like Van Halen and Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix, you know what I mean, and cutting my teeth on that stuff. So, yeah.
That's cool, man. You listen to all kinds of rock and metal. Cool.
Oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, There's so many great guitar players everywhere, so it's like you can learn from everybody. That's my view.
I mean, here's a rundown question, man. It's been all over the press, of course, about Eddie Van Halen's passing. And how did you feel? Were you a fanatic or?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't think you can play lead guitar and in the rock metal kind of scene and not have been affected by him. I mean, I know all my friends wanted to be him at some point. We all did. Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I spent so much time listening to those records, and I saw him live a few times. It's just like Eddie's one of those guys. It's like you hear the songs and the solos, and you're just like, oh God, man, I gotta play like that. And then you try, and it's just like you can't really play like him. Like as even a lot of my friends who are shredders, it's like we all talk to each other. We're just like, nah, man, you just can't sound like that. That's him. That's his voice. That's he's such an original. But it's so inspirational. It was tough when he passed. I ended up just cranking a bunch of Van Halen records, and then I fired up my old Marshall and just try to play and just try to remember him. It's such a huge legend. That in the scene, it was so influential to everyone.
Oh yeah. Of course, I was a fan too, and Roth and Hagar and the whole Sharon, the whole.
Oh yeah, all of it. I love all the eras. All the eras are great.
Speaking of equipment, you mentioned your cabinet. Do you use the same gear with your jazz project than with the death metal thing?
I don't use not the amps, but I do use the same guitar usually. Yeah, I have an Ibanez RG. It's a RG exotic wood model. It's a mahogany with a Zerico top, and I use that. I recorded my jazz record on that, and I recorded the new 1600 with that. Yeah. With the jazz stuff, I usually use just like a clean amp, so like a Fender or something, or a small little combo. And then for the 60s stuff on this record, I used a Marshall JCM 800, an 80s head that I have. I just hit it with a bunch of overdrive pedals and kind of gained it up a little bit. So
awesome. Are you still using? I saw some videos where you're presenting, I guess, the OD808 overdrive.
Yeah, the Maxon. Yeah, the Maxon OD808. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Yeah, that's my go-to lead sound actually. So when we go and tour or play festivals, in Europe or whatever, like usually we just have to use whatever amps they have at the shows or on the tours. So I always bring like a OD808 and another Forden grind pedal. It's called. That's just a clean boost, but it tightens up the low end. So I hit the amp really hard with that, and then I just goose it with a tube screamer for my leads. Yeah.
You mentioned going to Europe, doing festivals over there with 6 Feet. So what's your favorite gig and what's your worst gig?
Oh man, I don't know. There's been so many, man. We played a great festival in Romania last year. It was tough. Like my second gig with 6 Feet Under was at this with Full Force Festival in Germany, and that was pretty incredible. It was like 30,000 people. Man, honestly, I really like the club shows almost better than those fests. I like a nice packed, sweaty club where people are just going nuts, and just having a good time. Yeah, those are always my favorite shows. The festivals are wild because like when you're playing in front of 20,000 people, that's just it's insane feeling, because you can't even see people really past the front row and they're stretching back to the horizon. Yeah, but all those shows are super fun, and I'm so lucky to get to play those.
So, what would be the worst gig?
Worst gig, shit. That might be that with Full Force Festival. No, it wasn't a bad gig. yeah. So that was my second show with 6 Feet Under, and it wasn't the worst thing in the world. But basically, like I remember that embarrassing thing that happened. I started one of the songs, and it was just me, starting the intro, and I unplugged my cable from my guitar, and I was like, oh shit, so I had to quickly plug in and then get back to it, So that was a little rough being my second gig, but at the same time, it was incredible because once we got rolling, it was great. Yeah.
Talk to us about Gematria.
Oh yeah, so that's my project with my good friend Steve Hanashowski. He's a excellent drummer, bassist, and like music programmer. Yeah, it's just really, really and like incredible musician. So yeah, with that kind of thing, that's a little more. It's hard to explain. A little more experimental, a little more kind of the fusion-y stuff. But yeah, so Steve usually he'll send me some tracks that he's working on, and then I'll add my parts to them, and then we'll go in and record them. We're actually writing some new stuff now, which is cool. So it's a little more progressive kind of sounding. I'm excited to get that stuff out. That probably will come out sometime next year.
Awesome stuff. Here's a different question. Are you done with Cannabis Corpse?
Yeah. I left that band somewhere around 2018 or so. Yeah. So I did. I can't remember when my first tour with them. It might have been 2015 or so. And then we did. I did the record Left Hand Pass with them. I did all the guitars on that and wrote most of the record. Phil and I wrote most of the record. And we had some good times. We did some great tours. Did a nice tour of Europe, and then we opened for Soulfly in the States. That was a really good time. Yeah. So Phil, Phil's in. He's in Municipal Waste and Iron Reagan, so he's touring most of the year. So with Cannabis Corpse, he could usually end up touring, around the spring or even the late winter. And unfortunately, that's when I tour with 6 Feet Under a bunch. So the schedule conflicts just got in the way, So.
That's some killer music, man. Killer metal right there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That was a fun band. Definitely, those guys are great.
For sure. What's next for Ray, for yourself? What's next for you? What are you doing now? What are you working on now? This past, this year has been strange for all of us, Yeah.
So I've just been teaching a lot of guitar lessons and just practicing a lot. Trying to write, trying to write another jazz record now, and working on the Gematria stuff. 6 Feet, we just put that record out, but Chris and I had started working on some songs too, so hopefully in a year or two, maybe we'll put out another record of that stuff. That was a little more kind of groovy, kind of first couple of 6 Feet Under records type of feel to it, so yeah, it should be interesting. So yeah, I'm just trying to stay busy, trying to, in these weird times, just playing a lot of guitar, hanging out.
Yep, strange times for sure, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you like to send a message to the people listening to this podcast?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hey, thanks everyone for checking out the podcast, and thanks for everyone for the support of the new 6 Feet Under record. It's been charting. We made the Billboard Top 200, and we charted pretty good in Germany. So yeah, thank you all for the support, and can't wait to see you all on the road. Yeah, we're it sucks. Right about now, we were supposed to be on the West Coast doing a West Coast tour of California and Canada a little bit, and so that would have been fun. But yeah, maybe next year,
Oh wow, that's messed up. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm sure it'll be. Yeah. I'm sure you'll get back on your feet, get back on the road sometime next year for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man.
Thank you for making time, Ray. Appreciate it.
Sounds great, man. Awesome. Thank you.
Now, wasn't that a conversation, man? Wasn't that a musician of musicians, man? That's Ray Suhy, jazz player, and you guys should check that out, man. Check out that album they got out there. You can check it out on digital formats. I checked it out on Spotify. The album is called Transcendent. Ray Suhy, Lewis Porter Quartet. Lewis, Lewis. Lewis Porter Quartet, Ray Suhy. Check it out, man. Awesome music, man. So that's a great musician right there. We hope you guys enjoyed the conversation with Mr. Suhy, Ray, of course. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media, the digital formats of Spotify, Bandcamp, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys to the people that already follow us, to the rock artists that check us out also, man. Thank you guys for interviewing with us, with myself, James, and the ones that haven't, man, you're more than welcome to spend some time in our format here and talk about what's going on in your life and what albums you're doing, how you're handling the pandemic and this and that. So we got some more interviews coming up very soon. We got the interview with Mr. Chad, the drummer for Neckrot Mortuous. That's coming up. And of course, we got an interview with Eleni Nota of Nervosa, straight from Greece, I believe, Athens, Greece. And that's coming up. Also, we got Mr. Jason Bittner, drummer for Overkill also. These next few days, we'll be uploading these interviews. And of course, next week, we have the legendary Michael Sweet of Striper. So look out for that, you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in and checking out that metal interview with myself, James. Thank you for checking out our radio station, jrocksmetalzone.com, our radio show. Thank you once again to Mr. Ray Suhy of 6 Feet Under. And don't forget, you got to support Mr. Ray Suhy. Don't forget to support his project, his jazz project. Don't forget to support their 6 Feet Under's latest album, Nightmares of the Decomposed, man, under Metal Blade. So a big shout out to Metal Blade out there. Thank you to Mr. Chris Barnes for bringing in the kill, bringing in some badass metal all the time. Of course, to all the guys from 6 Feet Under, to Ray, to Jeff, and of course, Mr. Jack Owen, and everybody out there in the camp. So, well, we hope you guys enjoyed this interview and keep sharing and keep checking it out, man. Thank you. And don't forget to keep it metal.
That metal interview.